In this vlog, I'm going to be going over the sort of ideas that come about when you think of a stadium and what sort of culture a stadium provides to a sports team. The stadium and team I'm focusing on is going to be Fulham because they just underwent a project to construct a new stand called the Fulham Pier. As we learned when we met with Fulham, is the plan for the new stand is to incorporate a dock in which they can bring people by boat to the game. The stand will also incorporate a hotel, and it'll include a food court, eating areas, there's going to be lounge areas, there's a members club once you get further up, and then there's a health and spa area as well. I reacted to hearing this being a part of the new stadium. I thought it was very modern and an advanced take on a stadium and what a stadium can mean to a club, but I also thought it was the wrong direction for them to be going. Fulham is a very historic team and their stadium is very historic as well. The stadium has been around forever and hasn't really undergone much change, and you definitely got that feeling when you were walking around in the cottage in the corner that stadium had seen a lot of history. And this new stand, I feel, is going to stand out like an eyesore in the culture of the club. They're one of the first clubs to take a very modern approach to their stadiums and their stadium building. The plan was for all of this to be run kind of around the clock and incorporated into a revenue generating stream versus just waiting for match day to get to use the stadium, which is understandable, and I don't have a problem with them trying to generate more revenue, but I feel like them just doing it to one stand is what's going to be a problem, because the other stands are going to be very old. There's literally a stand that half the seats are wooden, like original pretty much looking seats that they would have had at Craven Cottage, and now they're going to have this very new and modern looking stand that's going to just not mesh well, in my opinion, with the look of the stadium overall. What I feel it's going to do to the culture of Fulham, I feel like it's going to detract from its historic roots a little bit, because the whole culture of the club is one that's been passed down for generations. That I believe they're the oldest football team in London, and now they're going to have this brand new stand that is going to take some time for the fans to probably get used to, thinking of their stadium almost as incorporating a mall into their stadium is going to be a bit of a tough pill to swallow, in my opinion. The identity of Craven Cottage used to be just that very old historic ground where you were basically right on top of the players and you could have some of the greatest seats in the house. And even though it was old, it didn't feel old because the sense of community there is very strong. They have a very passionate following. And now this new stand is going to have areas for members and the hotel, and people are going to basically be living in the stadium that couldn't really probably care less about Fulham, and that's a bit of a problem for the actual football fans, but that's the club's direction, and that's what they're trying to do in order to generate more revenue. I personally don't believe it's the smartest move. I feel they could have found other ways to do a bit more community outreach and leave the stand sort of as a stand in order to generate revenue. Instead, Fulham's history has been dominated by the white and black look. They've always adorned the white and black, and this new modern looking stand is still going to reflect that. This new stand is still obviously going to represent Fulham and everything Fulham means, but it's going to do it in a very different way and a very non-traditional approach to a very traditional club. And I feel like that's where I have the most problems with this new stand, is the space that Craven Cottage used to be will probably no longer ever exist, and that takes away from some of the connection of the club a lot of fans will maybe have, and it'll probably deter some fans from coming back or embracing the change that they're about to embark upon. But overall, the new stand is a part of this imagined space that they have to deal with, and it's going to represent them. I just feel they took an interesting approach at trying to bridge the gap between generating revenue and appreciating the stadium as a whole with this new construction. I wonder if they do attract less fans if the culture around the stadium is a bit more quiet and lacks a bit more of the atmosphere that they used to get at the old Craven Cottage and that stand, but only time will be able to tell where this stand is finally completed, what is actually in store for Fulham and everything that will be done for them. And so that's just my take on this, a new imagined space that they will have with the Fulham Pier stand.